Hi, welcome to You Time. The purpose of You Time is to help you prioritize yourself by taking a few minutes each day so that you can be the best version of yourself for the other people in your life. Good morning and welcome to You Time with Synne. This morning I have on the line with me Mindy Scales, who's the owner and operator of Clear Home Consulting. Welcome, Mindy.
Good morning.
So Mindy and I met through a women's networking organization called the Polka Dot Powerhouse. And I got to know a little bit about what Mindy does and about her business. And I thought her services and her organization skills definitely lend itself to self-care. Clean mind, clean house, clean mind. I think that's what it's called.
Yes.
So I thought we could hear a little bit from Mindy about what she does, how she practices self-care for herself, and then how to contact her. So welcome, Mindy. What got you into the decluttering home organization space?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. So I feel like this is something that I've always been interested in my whole life. And probably when it came time to choose a career path, I didn't really see it as an option for, going into, I don't know why, going into design and interior just didn't occur to me. I actually pursued a degree in education and ultimately became a speech pathologist. But I always had this passion for kind of being very aware of the spaces around me and how they affected my mood and how they affected my productivity and what I felt like doing. So as I moved through my career and started a family, it was just something always in the background that I did for myself and for other people, taking their spaces and trying to, make some small tweaks, nothing major. My focus is really on helping people maximize what they have, use what they have, and really focus on surrounding themselves with things that make them happy and that they love as a way of focusing on design and decluttering.
That's great. It's interesting. I did a major home renovation, started about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I live in a Cape, and the first floor of my house there's a place for everything, and
Mm-hmm.
it's decorated nicely and it's really organized. And then the second floor of my house is basically housed everything that I don't want on my first floor. So it's kind of a nightmare, and that's where my home office is as well. So
Mm-hmm.
my desk itself is neat, but I know like the room just has so much clutter in it, and I know I'd feel so much better if it was organized.
Yeah. It really can suck the creativity and the productivity out of your ability to get things done if you are surrounded by stuff that is just weighing you down physically and mentally. And I feel like a lot of people have that sense, but they just don't know where to start in terms of either clearing stuff out, what to get rid of, what to keep. And so as a result, people just often tend to deal with it, live with it, put it off. I'll get to it later. And that's where I feel like having something like my services to maybe push you past, this is what I really want to have. I can be there to guide someone through the process and really help them go from start to finish, check it off their list, and then be able to, enjoy that home office and use it the way you see yourself using it and when you think about it in your head.
I think situations like this, I can speak from myself, personally, is that it's like where to start.
Mm-hmm.
What's step one? Because you can kind of get analysis paralysis by kind of overthinking where you need.
Absolutely.
I think you just need to pick something and start there.
Yeah, and get started. And I feel like in the age of social media and such a visual world that we live in, people tend to get a picture in their head of this perfect room, this perfect space with maybe, the perfect furniture that's probably out of their budget, or some major renovation. And they just keep thinking, well, I'll wait until I have the money to do this major renovation. Instead of looking at it as, okay, this is what I have right now in front of me. What can I do to make it the best, the best situation for me right now. So when I think of organization, I'm not one to think about, you know, super tidy, alphabetized spices and socks by color order. For me, organization is having a space that functions well. And usually that means less stuff, right? So almost always less is more. And so starting with what can I take out of this space so that I can breathe, so that I can think. And I feel like for a lot of people, it's hard because they attach, whether it's real or not, or just, they attach meaning to things that makes it harder for them to purge. So, so-and-so gave me this. I feel like they'll be upset if I get rid of it. Or this belonged to so-and-so, so I feel like I have to keep it in my space. And so we carry this burden of all of this excess stuff that prevents us from moving to that dream space that we want. And so it can be a how do I get started? So, that's where I come in.
I have another personal tidbit is I have clothes, I think a lot of people do, that I need to part with. And you don't know this about me, but over the past 2.5 years or so, I've lost 75 pounds. And I've gained some of that back. And it was, I purged down to a certain size. And then I have this like safety zone
Right.
wardrobe. It's kind of like, well, maybe if I get back to here, like I won't have to buy a whole new wardrobe, and maybe I should just hold on to this stuff. And even sitting in my visual space right now, I had ordered some clothes online and they came in and they don't fit. They're way too small. And the company is in another country, and they basically said it's, give them away. It's more expensive to send. So they're just sitting there, and I know, I have to get rid of them, whether it's give them to someone who's smaller than me or just to donate. But they're not serving any purpose, and they're not bringing me any joy. And
Exactly.
I don't really have an emotional attachment, but then there's also that like financial attachment,
Yes.
like, where people have a hard time parting with something just because they've paid money for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, being able to brainstorm ways about, where can this go to someone who needs it might take some of that angst out of that decision.
Right.
But
And I also know that you do, as well as, organization and decluttering, you also do some home staging. Is that correct?
I do. Yep. So I've done home staging for people who are preparing to sell their home. And, again, with that process comes the idea that you have to look at your space through the eyes of a potential buyer. And sometimes that's hard to do for the homeowner who's in the space, who has emotional attachments to the things that are there. So having an objective person to come in and say, while this is beautiful, this is very personal, and maybe move this out, helping them to make the most of storage spaces, closets, setting up rooms so that they really can appeal to a mass amount of buyers rather than be really specialized to what they were using it for their family. So it can be an overwhelming process, especially if it's someone who's been in their house for many, many years, to think about where to start, getting rid of stuff. But I also think that it's a great opportunity for people. I personally love to move for this reason, is that it's a fresh start. It's a clean slate. So moving can be that time, if you can get your brain in the right space and you're not too stressed out by the process, to say, okay, in my next space or my next part of my life, what do I want to take with me? What kinds of things do I imagine myself taking out of the box on the other end with a huge smile on my face and anxious to put it in its new spot? And what things are just dragging me down? Now's the perfect time to move those things, onto someone else who might need them.
I had a Tupperware, like a Rubbermaid bin that went with me to college. And, I'm 43, so that was quite a while ago. It went with me to college, and it moved with me each year and collected, pictures and letters and things like that. And it's moved with me through, I don't know, several apartments and condos, and had been sitting in my house for, I don't know, 13 years or something like that in my basement. I never opened it.
Yeah.
I never looked at it. And last summer, I actually had a flood in my basement. My
Mm.
boiler corroded,
Oh no.
and but it was amazing. I had a dumpster, and I just did a huge purge. I mean, I
Oh,
have to purge more, but I opened it up. I looked at it really quickly, and I said, okay, I haven't needed anything in this in 25 years.
right.
Why am I holding on to this? Like
Yes.
it can just go. And it's actually really freeing because I didn't spend too much time analyzing it. I would just say, you know what,
Yes.
this box is wet. Like it just needs to go. And
Right.
I got rid of a lot of stuff, and it felt really great.
Oh, it is. It is. It's a physical weight can be lifted. Once you're in that mindset, like you said, maybe 10 years ago you couldn't have done it, but when the opportunity came, you just were able to quickly glance at it and let it go. And I think that is the hard part for a lot of people, especially now. People have big houses or lots of storage space, and we just think, oh, I'll just, tuck this box in and tuck these pictures away, and they're not really serving us any purpose. We don't look at the books, we don't look at the pictures. So I really, feel like if you're not enjoying it and it's been 10 years since you've opened that box, then ask yourself, is this something I need to keep dragging with me from place to place, or something I need taking up space in my attic, even though I can't see it? There's a physical weight that comes with hanging on to stuff like that. And what are you going to do with it? Your kids aren't going to want it later.
Right, right.
No one wants your junk.
I'm glad you said that, because I was, as you were talking about it, so my parents did this like major purge a couple of
Mm-hmm.
years ago from their house. And they basically said to my sister and myself, you all have your own houses now. So we're going to give you your stuff, and you can go through it and decide, what you want, and what you want to keep and what you want to get rid of.
Right.
And I have, in my home office space, I have a 1980s style, photo album, like where you have to
Mm-hmm.
pull the page back and like stick the pictures in. And it's all clippings of like my high school swim meets, and my high school boyfriend's basketball games. And I'm like, I was like, well, maybe, not the boyfriend's basketball things, but maybe my son would like to look at my swim meet results from 30 years ago. But as you were talking, I was like, no, this is ridiculous. He's never going to want that. Like, maybe I sit down with him one night and be like, look, this is cool. Mommy used to be a really good swimmer. And then like, that's it. And then
That's right.
goes away.
Let it go.
He does not like, great grandchildren are not gonna care.
They're
So
not. They're really not.
so decision made. Thank you for helping me
Yeah, you're
declutter that one
welcome.
project.
You're welcome. And you have a child, so too the clutter that comes with, or the potential clutter and feelings of guilt that parents carry with, how much of their kids' stuff do they keep from their school years? You
Yes,
start off the kindergarten years, you keep every handprint, every drawing, every, scribble that they make, and then so on and so forth through the years until finally you're stuck with this box. And I think a lot of parents do the same thing. I'll gift this box of treasures to my child when they're when they're grown, and they're not going to have any use for it, most
right,
likely.
right.
So being really careful about what you choose. And what I ended up doing for my kids, you have 3 kids, so the first one we kept a lot, the second one not as much, the third one not even close to the first one. But I ended up weaning it all down, and I got a binder for each of them with like the plastic slip-in pages, and from each of their school years kept a couple things, like a funny story that they wrote, a picture that had some meaning, a couple, maybe a class photo or something funny that they wrote through the year. So each child has a binder, and that's it.
That's great.
Yeah, but it's a process.
One of the things that my supervisor at work does, because she's tries to be minimalistic,
Mhm.
and she is a daughter around my son's age, is that she takes pictures on her
Yes,
phone of her kids' artwork. So it's stored, in cyberspace, and it can go back to for reference, and it's,
it's a great idea.
captured as something special. but not taking up physical space.
Exactly. Yeah. We run out of space. And again, it becomes a burden. And then the feelings of guilt when you sit in front of a mountain of schoolwork and you feel like you're literally, tearing off your child's childhood and putting it in the trash.
Right.
But if you
Right.
ask the child, they'd probably be like, that's fine. I don't, I'm done with that piece of paper. I don't need that.
That
So,
makes sense. So Mindy, what kind of self-care activities do you practice for yourself?
I do a bunch of different things. I think I, over the years, have kind of changed my self-care routine depending on, the age of my kids and my free time. So, like I said, I have 3 kids and they're all older now and very independent, one in college and 2 in high school. So my ability to engage in self-care activities has really evolved over time to where now I run, and I've taken up CrossFit about 3 years ago, and that's become self-care in that it gives me the physical workout that I crave, but also because I do work independently, it gives me a social network and it gives me a community of like-minded people that are motivated to take care of themselves and support each other. So that's really fun. Running is something I love to do because it's kind of a solitary, almost meditative experience. And then I also do yoga. Love hot yoga. So
Nice.
yeah,
Nice.
and those are kind of my fitness kind of things. And yeah, like I said, I'm lucky that I have a lot more free time now that my kids are a little bit older to do those kinds of things. But I know it's harder for younger moms to do that with younger kids.
Yeah. Um, I want to be mindful of your time and respectful of your time. So, how do listeners get in touch with you to find out more information about your services?
So I would and have people go to my website, which is Clear Home Consulting, all one word, clearhomeconsulting.com. They can email directly to clearhomeconsulting@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, again, under Clear Home Consulting. So they can check out my work and get in touch with me. I'd love to talk to people and see how I can help them. I feel like I'm the interior designer that does not come with the interior designer costs and prices, really focus on, a real person's lifestyle and budget, and work on that whole declutter to design spectrum.
And probably not with binders full of wallpaper and window treatment.
Exactly. Not a lot of, I mean, I can find custom things for people and I'm certainly happy to spend people's money. But my focus is really on helping, the average person make the most of what they have in the space that they have and help them, realize their dream with what they have right in front of them.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and I think my listeners are really going to enjoy this. I think we could all benefit from some decluttering in our lives, and I definitely see the connection to self-care. I mean, if for no other reason, if you're not constantly trying to organize, you
Mm-hmm.
have more free time to do other things like
Exactly.
yoga or meditation or day trips or other things that help you unwind and feed your soul.
Absolutely. And walking in at the end of the day should be a pleasant experience. Coming home should feel good and calming and not walking through the door with a feeling of, escalating stress. So
Yeah, if only I could get that lacrosse bag out of my kitchen.
I can't help you with that. I've got one too.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure.